Good evening, you're listening to the Women in Music show on Gorgeous FM. I'm Lydia Greatrix and I'm here with you until 9pm with all the best women in music. And now it is time to meet this week's Woman of the Week. And this week it's multi-instrumentalist, singer, songwriter and producer S.A.A.R.A. Born in North London, S.A.A.R.A's music career started when she learnt the bass guitar at school, and that led her to join a few bands, but she's always wanted to front her own project, which is where the S.A.A.R.A project, with two A's between the S and the R, project began.
Me and music kind of goes, way back. I accidentally joined a band when I was at secondary school. And it was sort of me and a bunch of the sort of like class misfits, the indie kids, big flared trousers, etc. And I was like rolling with this crew, and they were setting up a band. I went to a girls' school, and they were setting up this indie band, and I kind of fell into their friendship circle around that time and really wanted to be involved, but it was all kind of set and going. And I was like, great, well, I can just sort of cheer on from the sidelines. And then it transpired that the girl who was going to play bass no longer was able to. So at the time I was playing clarinet in the school orchestra. So I played clarinet from sort of like primary school up into secondary school. Terrible. I absolutely stink at clarinet. I would not force anyone to listen to me play that right now. So they were like, oh, S.A.A.R.A, well, you know music, like you can play bass, like cool. And in the end, I kind of fell back into playing bass, and this project was born out of that, really.
I'm interested to find out, because obviously your kind of like baby is the bass guitar. Did you ever have any kind of like role models with other women who played bass guitar?
Funnily enough, not so much, which is a real shame. And it's only sort of recently that I have started to sort of notice female bass players, and particularly female bass players who front their projects as well. So there's a lady called Adeline. She's based in New York, and she does a lot of kind of like funk. She slaps bass, which is something that I can't really do, and it's something that I've not really been drawn to do, not yet anyway. And so that was really nice to see. And another lady called Nikki West, and she's like really funky. She's kind of like, if Prince was a woman who played bass, that would be her. But sort of growing up and going to, because I grew up listening to a lot of indie music and like a lot of band music, and I would always have a little part of me that would be a bit, I don't think resentful's the right word, but the kind of female bass player, or even to an extent like the female like guitarist who was just sort of like hitting that one note and like spending most of the time like flicking the hair around. And it was kind of like, it would be really great to kind of see the level of intensity and passion that is kind of expected and allowed with male musicians to be given to female musicians. Like, we all know bands where they really like rock out and like trash the stuff. And that's not to say that that doesn't happen with female bands, like the Slits, for example, are really like raw and edgy, and have their own sound and just own it. But I found, particularly being a Black woman as well, like I found part of my musical journey was kind of existing in a space where I didn't really see a lot of myself reflected back, which in a way was tough. But then also it meant that, well, I get to decide a lot of things now.
Who are the kind of people that you are listening to at the moment? Do you have like a certain playlist you just play all over again, or artists that you just come back to all the time? Or
my Spotify is a mess because I just save things into liked songs, and then it's like, oh, what was that song? And it's like trawling through like just thousands of songs that that's one resolution I'd like to make, is like start having those playlists, because people say that, like, oh, S.A.A.R.A, like you do music, you know music, like play something. It's like, oh, I can't do that. I can't play stuff out of my Spotify saved songs list because it's so random. But I love Little Dragon. I love their sound. I think her vocals are amazing. I like how they kind of bring in that sort of song structure, but then also have like elements of production using sort of found sounds. Really enjoy that. I circle back a lot to artists like Kate Bush, who I love. Like, she really did her own thing her way and was very much in control of the music that she wanted to make. And in the 70s as well, like, 70s, 80s, where it's like, bands, music, like that's men's work. To be a woman saying, no, this is how I want it to sound. And actually, this is how I want it to look. And this is how I want the stage to be. And then you work it out. Not, there's none of this, no, it doesn't happen like that, love. Sorry, no, it's not possible. Like, no, it's like, no, this is what I want to happen. Mm-hmm. And we'll figure it out. So I love that about her.
But the artist you picked, you've already talked about a little bit, Kate Bush, for your favourite woman in music. I'm going to play Running Up That Hill. What is it about this song that you like?
The song itself is absolute genius. The way she sets up the scene, the programmed drums, like the idea of making a deal with God. And like the choreography with it just really struck me, totally blew me away. And ever since then, I've just absolutely loved that song.
It's a song chosen by this week's Woman of the Week, S.A.A.R.A. That's Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush. And I was actually talking to S.A.A.R.A. about Kate Bush's album that I listened to the other week. And I was like, it's so visual. It's like you can close your eyes and just like listen to it and feel like it's a movie in your head. And S.A.A.R.A. actually said that that's something she really puts into her music and she thinks about, which I'm just in love with. I love that she does that. And you'll kind of feel it when I play a couple of her songs a little bit later. S.A.A.R.A. really does like to take those visuals into account. And I'm just fascinated by how someone like her goes about writing a really funky piece of music that gets you dancing, and that's all what we need in these times.
I always start off my writing process with a bass hook, or sort of like an idea for a bass line, and then I'll sit and I'll program in the drums in Logic. So I'll kind of like cycle through the loops to see anything that kind of like jumps out or fits. So sometimes I have the bass line first, or sometimes I'll cycle through the loops and just play over and see anything that sticks. So it's kind of like a little bit of trial and error in the beginning. And then I feel once I've got that hook or that catch, like I usually try and have a part A and a part B. So this hook is doing this for a certain amount of time, and then where is it going to go? So I try and work that out fairly early on. And then from there, the arrangement will come in. So sometimes I start with like the keys arrangement, just giving it the kind of like the chord structure. Or sometimes I'll have an idea for, one of the woodwind instruments, like either a really hooky sax line or something for the flute. And I mean, again, to big up my band, is that like my MIDI keyboard skills do not match what they can do in real life. So I'm so grateful that they can sort of take that and really give it that kind of human sound. But I'll organize the woodwind arrangement. And then in terms of lyrics, sometimes like I'll have just like a little like phrase that pops into my mind, or if I'm watching something and I'm like, oh yeah, that was a really clever way of saying something, then I'll kind of make a note or jot it down. I've got these notebooks like everywhere, like there's a pile behind me, there's a pile in front of me, and my record keeping is terrible. Sometimes it's in my phone, but I'll be like, oh yeah, what was that line? So I'll kind of have a rough idea and just sort of mumble over this beat and bass basic arrangement and kind of hope and pray that it kind of takes shape.
What's it like when you have that like eureka moment of like, oh my goodness, I've got it? Like, describe that feeling for me, because that must feel amazing.
Oh, like incredible. Like, and especially because I feel block like completely, like throughout my whole body. I am miserable. I'm awful to be around. And now I recognize it, and I say to my friends, I'm like, don't worry, I'm just a little bit creatively constipated. If I'm a little bit short with you today, it's because I'm being haunted by a song that I can't finish. But otherwise, I'm good. You know, you want to get a sandwich? Like, let's go. So when you have that breakthrough moment, it's euphoric. Because you're kind of like, yes, this, oh gosh, yeah, this is really cooking. And you kind of have to pace yourself in a way, because once the ideas start flowing, it's almost a challenge to be able to keep up with the rate at which you're thinking, okay, and then you can do this. Oh, and then actually you should go back, change the flute line to this. Oh, actually rewrite the lyrics to this. Oh, and it's like, okay, I had nothing for a really long time other than frustration, and now I have everything. Got to split the difference and kind of just go methodically through it.
Can you talk to me about Deliverance? Because I'm going to play that song now.
With our tracks, although it is dance music, I think sort of broad art overarching, there are kind of different elements that come through with the different tracks. So Grace Jones, the first release, was definitely sort of very funky, had that kind of sort of like 70s, like chic kind of vibe, like, you know, good times. And Deliverance has come out with this kind of like Afrobeat kind of vibe. And I'm a huge fan of Fela Kuti as well. And I just love the way that his tracks are structured, where you really kind of like sort of build, and then you have the main section of the song where everything is everything is happening. Like you hit like the verses and the choruses, and then you kind of like build out. So it's sort of like this triangle approach. And yeah, with Deliverance, it's got that feel. I really love like the organ coming through. So the idea is, and I guess, yeah, returning to that idea of thinking visually about things, it's giving it that kind of, like you're crossing this ginormous plain, and you're on this journey, and you can kind of feel the sun in your face, and you're like traveling on. So yeah, like that. And that in itself, I think that was the third song that I finished for this project, and it is the third song that is on the EP.
Isn't this just so funky? Absolutely love it. I've been bopping in studio to this one. That's Deliverance by S.A.A.R.A. And she is my Woman of the Week this week. I've got some good news for you. If you're loving this chat so far, I'm actually going to treat you to an uncut version. It's about 45 minutes long, I think. It's going to be over on my YouTube channel very soon, so make sure you are following me. I am at Lydia Greatrix. You spell my last name like Greatrix. And if you follow me, you'll be the first to know when that is up. And I tell you, it's just an absolutely fascinating conversation. I learned so much from her because I'm just obsessed with music production and learning about it. And yeah, she's a great gal to learn from. As Sarah explained, she's got a EP coming out later in the year, which is super exciting. And I've actually seen some videos and pictures of her performing with her band. And to be honest, it looks like such a big party that we just all need right now. So I wanted to know how she would describe the S.A.A.R.A gig experience.
Yeah, the shows are super fun, like big sweaty mess of just dancing and yeah, like shaking it all around. And yeah, like we just love it when the audience dances as well, and people tend to just really let go and like get into the moment and have a good time. So we want to be playing live, like that is definitely our MO, like, you know. And in some ways it was particularly for this first EP where we were all just feeling our way through it. And, you know, this is the first time I've really kind of worked on finishing and sort of producing a record. And I worked with two amazing producers to make this, finish this EP to a high standard. But even just like sketching it out, organizing the tracks, laying down the arrangement, vocal work, doing all of the BVs as well. It was like, okay, there's a lot of stuff that I need to learn. So that was difficult taking a lot of the energy and putting it into the record because, the live shows really just go off. We have a lot of fun and we're desperate to play. I think, we would quite happily play a nearest, Subway sandwich store if they asked us. We're like, yeah, sure, no problem, we're there. Will we get sandwiches?
I love that. Maybe you can come and play in my local Subway. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, down. Yeah, no problem.
Please do. Before we chat about Grace Jones, what is your big ambition for this project and just in your kind of music career?
Playing live is just something I love doing. It's don't get me wrong, I'm a bag of nerves before we play. It's don't talk to me, my mouth is so dry. But I absolutely love playing live. And I think, for as soon as we possibly can, we would love to be playing festivals because I think, just to be able to get out in front of, a big field of people just really wanting to dance would just be one, top pocket of achievements, I think. What really motivates me creatively, though, is to just always be focusing on making work that I can stand behind and say, this is the best work that I have produced for the skills that I have right now. A lot of what delayed me in just finally just stepping up and really taking ownership of the music I wanted to create was an obsession on perfection. Comparing what other people are doing, how did they get to sound so polished and this, that, and the other. And you can really drive yourself crazy with that. And in the end, I really checked into the fact that as a creative, you are always evolving. So the record I made, the EP I made back in 2019 isn't going to sound the same as the next EP or the EP after that, because hopefully I will be growing as an artist and learning new things and bringing more influences into my canon. I think a big achievement for me is to always just be on top of making the music I want to make, how I want to make it. Being a woman in the music industry as well, I would love to be in a position where I can be visible for other female artists, for other non-white female artists as well, to say, stick to your guns, make the art that you want to make it in the way you want to make it.
So with Grace Jones, because I'm going to play it very, very soon, can you talk to me about this song?
The inspiration behind this track was that moment where I really felt like I found my voice, my art, my center, that when it clicked, where I knew who I wanted to be in a sense. And I remember one time going out, it's a bar in Camden it was called the Monarch then, and then it turned into a Barfly, and now it's Camden Assembly. Can't keep up. But I remember being out with some friends there and just deciding, I'm just going to have a good time. Just going to not care. I'm just going to dance. I'm just going to have fun. And I think when I was writing this song, I was remembering that I decided to climb up on sort of a bar bench and just dance crazily to Standing in the Way of Control by The Gossip, which I absolutely love. It's a banger of a track. And I just thought, this is what life should feel like. And Grace Jones is kind of written about me meeting my alter ego in a way.
In true radio style, to finish us off, could you introduce Grace Jones for the airwaves?
I would love to. So thank you so much for having me, Lydia. I am so thrilled to be listening to Grace Jones on Gorgeous FM.
That's the debut single by S.A.A.R.A. That's Grace Jones on Gorgeous FM. And S.A.A.R.A. was my woman of the week this week. She's got a new single coming out called Forest on the 24th of March. So if you want to follow her on socials, her Twitter handle is Sarah _London, and S.A.A.R.A. is spelled S S.A.A.R.A, and then as _ London. And her Instagram handle is S.A.A.R.A Music, S.A.A.R.A spelt again, S.A.A.R.A, and there's full stops in between each letter of S.A.A.R.A Music. And you can also visit her website, S.A.A.R.A.co.uk. And of course, if you'd like to listen to the entire uncut version of that conversation, keep an eye on my personal Twitter at Lydia Greatrix in the next few days. She was absolutely awesome to chat to, so interesting. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. So next